Yo, people, we back again for another week. Same settings as usual. You man know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and share with your people. Obviously, we weren't here for the last couple of weeks. I don't think much has been going on, but yeah, sorry for missing out for the last couple of weeks. But we're back. And some of the reasons why we haven't been here is due to the COVID cancellations of games. You know, the fact that some days like you only have like 2 games when there should be like 5 and stuff like that. So it hasn't really helped the content side. But even just looking at it from a footballing perspective, we've seen a lot of controversy now, especially now with Liverpool and then Arsenal. And then I think Burnley have recently put one out today. But looking at it, because I'm going to gather all your opinions, but it's kind of it's shambles, man. Because obviously initially it was just meant to be for COVID, but now you're seeing like apparently they added AFCON and then injuries and stuff like that. It's quite ridiculous. But yeah, Carl, what's your thoughts on the whole COVID cancellation thing?
The thing is, in terms of like COVID cancellations, I understand how some teams will generally not have enough players to compete at the Premier League level. So I understand, but I think the problem lands with the consistency like across the board. So in terms of we needed some sort of definition of what is enough to compete, and I don't know. I know there's a lot of slander against Arsenal, but I do see on what Arsenal, their perspective, like they didn't feel they had enough players to compete. So within the rules, they disputed that and they wanted to dispute and they didn't have to play. But so it lies back with the Premier League, and so what's enough players? What's enough subs? All this kind of stuff. Chelsea had a appeal earlier this year, and obviously we got declined. And that was that good 6, 7 COVID cases. So you kind of have to ask, oh, what's going on here? Like, where's the consistency across the board? But I'm not completely against clubs calling for a cancellation. But same way, I think the Premier League needs to kind of solidify if we're going to get through this whole COVID phase and stuff. We need to start saying these games need to be played. Otherwise, we're just going to go the whole year, the whole season with bang, this game's cancelled, this game's cancelled. I'm not a Tottenham fan, but I feel sorry for them. At the end of the season, they might be playing every 3, 4 days. Like, it's at the end of the day, we want it to be like a fair league across the board. So I think the Premier League needs to do all they can to make sure some clubs aren't just struggling towards the end of the season. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, or what about you? Because like I'm looking at it, it gets to a point where you eventually actually start to lose momentum, like with the amount of games that cancelled and then the amount of games pushed in. It's not really of benefit. So yeah. So what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree with most of what Carl has said. I don't. I think the rules are very vague and easily available to probably bend or just not a very straightforward process, I feel. I think with the whole Arsenal thing, I did think that a lot of people did blow out of proportion. Because a lot of teams have been using that same strategy, especially when they feel they can't compete. In terms of having available players and having available players you feel can compete are kind of two different things, I feel. And obviously I saw people say that we could have obviously like put out youngsters and stuff like that. But I mean, it's more or less going there with like you know, a backhand or just not being on the like, from foot. But with this postponement of games, I do think that it is, making the league a mess. And just like Carl said, a lot of teams are going to have to play a lot of games within a short period of time. Yeah, I don't know, to be fair. I think Burnley again just called for one today. I think, yeah, it's, I feel like at some point the Premier League would have to review, the board would have to review like the rules and requirements and stuff like that to postpone games and stuff like that. But yeah, I just think that it is a very vague rule. I think it should be amended. But obviously Arsenal were well within their rights to request for it, just like every other club has. I think the major problem people should be having would be with the Premier League board, just like Carl has said, on how they can make it a bit more transparent and a bit more vague and a bit more not as lenient, just so a couple, more games can be played and we don't have to have these postponements. And obviously the fans and stuff, they have to reschedule. People book flights, people book, it's not a very good thing for the fans as well. So yeah, I think the Premier League definitely have to review the rules and certain stuff like that. But yeah.
What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, a lot of it's been said, to be honest. There's no real like definitive number or like sort of like magic cutoff point where they're saying, oh, this many COVID cases. And whenever before have we had injuries included in cancellations? Like, I feel like a lot of the COVID cases that have actually happened have just been masked by the fact that injuries are being chucked in, and AFCON's not an excuse either. Players know and clubs know that they're going to be going to represent their country. Like, they should have contingencies for that. I sort of think that's what Arsenal and Liverpool have done, to be honest. I think they're well in their rights to obviously explore that loophole. But I think it's a bit of a shambles. Like, the Leeds game yesterday should have been called off. I'm pretty sure Leeds have the most injuries in the Premier League. If that's the case, then the game shouldn't have gone ahead. Like, Leeds had no senior players on the bench. But yeah, they need to put a rule in, because like we're seeing now, like teams like Burnley have played 17 games, and like everyone else, like some of the other teams have played 22. That's already like a 5-game match difference. When are they going to play those games? Maybe not Burnley, but like Tottenham and United, already like 3 or 4 games in behind. So yeah, and also like momentum and things like that. Like and imagine playing like 4 Premier League games in that 2 midweeks in consecutively. It's gonna mess you up. Yeah, I think I just think we need to be sorted out pretty soon. Yeah.
Denzel, what about you? Because United have had some issues like that creep in. What's your thoughts on the whole COVID cancellations?
It's not ideal for the fans from my perspective. Like, as a fan, you want to see your team playing every week, but I don't get why everyone's so outraged about it. Like, why was everyone outraged that Arsenal wanted to postpone the game? Like, every team's basically, well, not every team, but a lot of teams have done it. So I don't see why it's an issue when Arsenal decide to do it. As much as I don't like Arsenal, like, come on, let's be logical here. Teams are postponing games. It's not like, I don't get why everyone's getting onto Arsenal, for one. 2, everyone hates it until it's their own team. If your own team has like a certain amount of injuries or a certain amount of COVID cases, and you can't put out a decent side, you're most likely going to want the games to be postponed. So I feel like everyone's outraged by it, but when it hits them, they're going to conveniently not be outraged by it because it benefits them. And another thing I want to say as well is, it doesn't necessarily benefit you as well, because if at some point in time you're going to have to play these games, and most likely you're going to have to, like Sarah said, they're going to have to chuck them in a short span of time, in a short time period. So clubs postponing games, like I've seen people saying, oh, they're cheating. I know Sarah had a little gripe with Liverpool saying they were cheating and stuff like that. As much as I hate Liverpool, it's not cheating because of they're going to have to play those games. In fact, no, that was to do with the Carabao Cup. So I guess that's a different issue in itself. But it's not cheating because of you're going to have to play the games anyway, and it's going to be in a short period of time. So there's pros and cons to it, I guess. I don't think it's a huge, outrageous issue that everyone's making out to be.
No, I hear that, man. We just got to hope and see that everything starts to clear up. But yeah, I think eventually the Premier is going to have to deal with it, because people are taking the piss. I think the thing with Arsenal that kind of did it is because Arsenal they didn't even say they had COVID cases like that. They just said, let's cancel this still. But it was like Liverpool actually came up with the whole false positive and all this.
That is ridiculous.
That one's worse.
That is
Liverpool's one was worse.
But Liverpool made an excuse in it. Arsenal just said, let's just cancel.
Arsenal were honest about it, and they got it. So
exactly.
why is everyone angry? Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's true. But but let's actually focus on this week's games. But the big game of the week was United, City versus Chelsea, and I saw an interesting conversation as a result. And someone was saying how Pep and Man City are brilliant, but they're so boring to watch, you know. And you kind of look at that and say, okay, in a sense, they're not really the most enthralling team. They're not as enthralling as they were maybe 3-4 seasons ago. And is it the fact that they keep the ball a lot that people have this idea that they play good football? You know, you get what I mean? So my question to you guys is, would you say Man City are almost a different form of defensive football in the sense where the fact that they keep the ball so much and they're able to sustain pressure for so long without being truly risky, would you say that they're kind of a different form of anti-football in that sense? I don't like calling that because you win how you win, you get what I'm saying? But would you say City are a very boring team to watch? So I'll start with, let me start with Denzel then.
Yeah, I have an interest. It's not even an interesting take, it's just my opinion on it. You know when a team is so blatantly, they're so much better than everyone else, just blatantly, everyone will try to run random narratives. Like, this is just boredom from people. Like, City are blatantly better than everybody else, maybe with the exception of Liverpool. And because of it's getting boring that City are winning all the time, people are starting to run agendas that they play boring football. City don't play boring football. If you watch Man City play football, they play very good football. Maybe because they're winning all the time.
Do they play very good football?
They do.
Yeah,
Maybe because they're winning all the time and they're in control all the time, people are finding it boring, but it's still good football. People are just like running narratives now, I guess. People just saying stuff just to say stuff. It's not like, how can you call Man City's football anti-football? Like that doesn't even make any sense. I just personally, I just don't understand it.
I don't think they're that entertaining to watch, if I'm being honest. They're actually, in my opinion, they are actually quite boring to watch, in my opinion. I don't get any sort of...
Maybe because you know they're gonna win all the time. Or you talk about their patterns of play in general. I think as a team they play good football. Obviously they keep possession very well, press very well. They do all the things that they need to do. They play good football. I don't see it.
No, them as a team is brilliant. It's just like almost like the individualism in the team. There isn't a lot of entertainment there. But yeah, no, sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say, like, the ability to keep the ball is a form of defense. Like, that's why Ederson barely faces any chances, because they just keep the ball and they can stay up the pitch and sort of suffocate their opponent. I think it's probably more to do with, like, what Denzel said, narrative, but the way Pep plays, it's a very, like, it's total football, in it. Like, you're trying to, like, nullify the opponent to have no control of the ball, and just like, they have different versions of play, which probably makes them the best team to watch, because they can switch it up when they want. They're not reliant on one player. Like, that's probably nothing we've ever seen in the Premier League, where, like, individuals are so important. The system is foolproof to, like, a certain extent. It's probably just more like a Pep thing, because of, like, the way he plays, and, like, everyone thinks he's probably, like, he's blessed with money, and he can have, like, different players playing in different positions and shit. But no, I disagree. I think they play the best football. They probably play the best football. Yeah, definitely.
Liverpool play better football than...
I disagree big time.
In terms of, like, to me, how I like to watch football, I'd say Liverpool play more exciting football.
But City City can minimize how many chances another team has because of the way they play.
No. This is where we're going to a different domain. City are the best team, arguably, in Europe. Like, that's not a debate. I'm just talking, and obviously this is subjective, but I'm talking just from an entertainment perspective.
Would you want your team to play, like, sort of counter-attack end to end when you know they're suspects defensively? I would feel uncomfortable personally.
But City in the Centurion season didn't play counter-attacking football. They still dominated, but it was just the way that they played with Son.
Yeah, it was more expansive, wasn't it? Touchline wingers, right to the edge. Like, yeah, they've changed from that. But, like, if West Ham started playing more tiki-taka and started, like, having, like, I don't know, Fornals and Benrahma, like, false nines, and I'd love it. Like, so, and again, it's probably more of a recent. We've seen Pep do it longer. We've seen the way he played for longer, as opposed to Klopp or Tuchel, for example.
But no, because there was a point where Liverpool were very boring to watch. But I feel like this season, they have been a bit more exciting to watch. And you see players like Trent and Salah and stuff like that. Like, they're more enjoyable to watch this season compared to other seasons. So I feel like if I'm basing it on this season, I'd say Liverpool have probably been one of the most entertaining teams to watch.
But they've been forced to adapt, right? Because they had a period of very, very stale chance progression. They weren't creating chances. They were just, again, spamming crosses into the box. When they went through that period after they'd lost at Anfield, like City, you've never seen them really like struggle to create chances, and that's the reason why Liverpool perhaps to change their play. Yeah, it's very subjective, but like, yeah, Pep's system causes less issues, I think.
Yeah, no. Like Pep knows how to minimize his
Yeah.
opposition. Like the way they keep the ball,
Mm.
push teams back. I can't complain about that. It's just, I don't know, man. There's no rules style like that. But what about you, Carl? What's your thoughts? Because you saw them firsthand.
The thing is, I just think they're so good and so much better than everyone else to the point where there's no case of the Premier League being competitive in terms of the title. There's not even a case of it being a competitive trophy like anymore because they're so far ahead of the gap, even between like the gap between Chelsea and United is absurd, and then the gap between Liverpool is still a big gap, a fairly big gap in terms of the quality. I get the point of not so much anti-football, but I get the point of it can be boring in terms of it's so systematic that there's a lot of sideways passing and keep possession. But then as Sarah says, that's just their form of defense. They don't need to sit back and counter when they can literally keep the ball in the opponent's half to prevent from there ever being having any trouble. So yeah, I think what Pep's done, and it's a transition. So before back in like 04, 05 Chelsea, when we was playing a lot of defensive football, that might have been seen as attractive back then. A lot of counter-attacking football, that might have been seen attractive then. But the way the game's shifting, just because Pep's being different and having his own philosophy, I guess we can't really call it boring to watch because it's just how the game shifted on. And like even when Arsenal, like when their invincible season, it's the same thing then, different then. When it was having a lot of draws, having a lot of defensive displays, you can't argue it's boring and anti if it is a results game at the end of the day. And I think that Man City fans have accepted that no matter what happens, Pep's getting results. They can't complain about entertainment. They can't be spoiled and start saying, "Now what we actually watching." And then Pep's providing Pep's providing results. If it came to the point where Pep started losing games and he's still trying to do his nonsense, because it is nonsense in the day what he's actually doing with that team. Like there's a lot of guys that can be doing a lot more, but he does restrict them. We've seen it with Grealish as well. I'm not a fan of Grealish, but he is restricted in the system, and with another few players as well. But yeah, no, I can't comment on Man City. I think they excelled to the point where people are gonna be bored, as Denzel said. People are actually very bored. There's no argument, to be honest.
Like I'm not critiquing them as a team, and I don't like to do this whole there's one way to play football, like you have to be attacking or defensive, but I'm just looking at it from an eye test perspective. I don't find them very entertaining to watch. I think they're quite boring to watch. You know, they keep the ball very well and obviously push teams back and sustain pressure so well. And that's what makes them one of the best teams in Europe, arguably the best. So I'm not really debating about them as a team in terms of what they're told to do. I'm just talking about it just purely from an entertainment standpoint. But yeah, City are brilliant, man. They're, you know, we know Pep. You know, Pep's that guy.
Yeah.
But is there anything? What do you want to say?
Just touching on what you said, I think the reason why people do see them boring is because they're not actually challenged, and because they allowed the time of the ball, no one's press is good enough to strip the Man City players. So because they can comfortably, very, very, very comfortably keep the ball in the opponent's half, they're never going to be challenged ever, to not even to in the slightest going to be challenged on the ball. So that's why it does seem boring. If they're able to just sit the ball, pass it sideways, but keep the ball very comfortably in the opponent's half, like why would they ever change if they can do that and know that there's no threat in behind them? So that's why I think it is a good point. It can be seen as boring because it's got to the stage now where they've perfected the system so much, so that like who's challenging them? Because Chelsea, we certainly wasn't, because that was an embarrassment. And yeah.
What's it? Anything that we want to mention about Chelsea? Like, is there any points that we want to talk about?
Chelsea. It felt like a bit like a top versus bottom clash. Now I'm joking. Chelsea had chances, to be fair. They had a few half chances. And again, I think the press is quite important to mention. The way they're pressing, and they lost the ball in the first half, and then like Grealish had that chance and a few others, but they're just both teams are just at different levels of their cycle. So Tuchel is a very, very, very good manager, and is at that second stage, sort of like trying to bridge the gap between him and Liverpool. I think it's fine to lose 1-0 against City. They've both got really close records now, him and Pep. So I think maybe in the next couple of years we could expect that gap to get even smaller. But in terms of title chances, I think it's probably like basically gone now. Chelsea, they didn't really muster anything. They couldn't really keep the ball very well. And Lukaku, I think we can see maybe why he was getting annoyed with like Tuchel's tactics at times. But I think in the midfield we found that I think Kovacic and Kante, they were getting a bit outrun, weren't they, at times? So I think Pulisic dropped deep, didn't he, in the second half to counter it a little bit. Just like rotations and like keeping the ball. Like going back to the point, like keeping the ball is probably one of the hardest skills in football. To be able to keep it for that long without having to deal with someone coming back at you. So yeah, pretty standard game.
Yeah. I don't think there was anything really to learn from that game. City are just the best team in the league, really. So I think that was it. But with Chelsea though, and Lukaku, I think has improved as a footballer since he came back from Italy, but he's still not. He's not a Drogba, in it. He's not your target man. He's not gonna bring people into play like that with his back to goal. You know, he excels in the transition. You know, running at defenses.
The issue you were having was he was getting the ball too high up the pitch. You needed him a bit more further down, and then bring the ball in, and then give it to Pulisic and Ziyech.
And then those two, that combination didn't really work. I feel like you probably needed players that were a bit more willing to run at City. I think Pulisic has lost his confidence, and that dribbling that he had maybe a couple seasons ago, I don't know why he's not showing it. And then Ziyech, he's a lost cause right now. I can't lie.
Would you sell him?
Would I sell him?
Because you do need to sell. I think you do need to sell one of those wide players. You've got so many. So
I'd sell Timo probably. But he's either Timo or Ziyech because they're obviously the oldest out of the attacking players. And I feel like they probably have the least use. Probably Timo is more useful than Ziyech because of his pace, isn't it? But
they're both different players, aren't they? Ziyech's more of like a midfielder, to be honest, inside midfielder, playing on the wing.
I feel like in the Chelsea team, Timo will probably have more use. I don't think Ziyech get used or utilised in the best way.
He doesn't suit the formation. I think he needs another midfielder around him. But
yeah, that's Chelsea for you, man. That's Chelsea. We'll get on to transfers later because there's a couple that we'll mention about. But let's move on to another team in the Prem now. Rafa's gone. He got sacked. Rightly so. Do you all agree? Rightly so.
Very, very rightfully so.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. They're saying Roberto Martinez back. That club, I don't think it shows you like when you have money, it doesn't mean you have structure, because I don't think these men actually have a plan of what they want to be. But what's our thoughts on them getting back Martinez? And I think we've spoken about Everton before, and we'll talk about Potter. But do we think Martinez, if they were to hire him, is a step in the right direction, or is it still a standstill, even potentially a backwards one? So, Carl.
I think what he said about we touched on Everton in one of the old podcasts, and I think we was arguing about them being kind of like a purposeless team because they didn't have really direction. And I think the whole sacking Benitez and going back for Martinez, I'm not saying he's a bad manager, but it shows there's a lack of direction, and they probably do have the money. Like they're getting a new stadium and stuff, but there's no clear structure of where they want to be in 5 years. Even in terms of their players, they have a couple of decent players. Apart from that, even like the younger players, you can't really see them improving too much over the next few years. So I am worried for them. I think sacking Benitez is definitely the right decision because for in terms of who they have, and then when you look at when the league table with teams like Watford around them and Leeds and Brentford, like come on, that's silly. That's it's a joke. I don't think getting Martinez back is the right answer. Just going back for the old manager, it's just not going to work out any better, is it? So I don't know who's on the market right now in terms of managers, but I'd say maybe someone that can get the best out of their young players, and maybe someone that all has a strong philosophy. That's what we said before. Someone with a strong philosophy or something that they have their own aspect to bring to the club, and maybe from building from that, they might have a clear direction of what style they want to play. Because I don't know right now what style Benitez was playing, because I don't know what that was. So just something like that. Yeah, I think they can get worse. I think it's gonna be dark times for Everton for a couple of years. I'll be honest. Yeah, that's what I think.
They spent like I think nearly $500 million, and they've gotten worse. Yeah.
A lot worse. A lot worse.
That's actually shocking. But yeah, what about you, Sarah? What are you saying about Martinez?
I think I said this all before, didn't I? Last time I had a bit of a rant. Everything they want, they're everything that West Ham are basically. Like they wanted to be that team that were like consistently like European and that. All right, they've gotten worse. They're spending shit tons of money. Their squad is horrific. All right, like so going back to what Carl said about Rafa. Rafa's system was reliant on Calvert-Lewin being fit. Calvert-Lewin's not been fit, so it was just hoof and poof and hope that Demarai Gay can score some bangers from Townsend and that. Like it's shocking. Like if someone they're playing right backs and left backs in like defense and like centre backs playing at full back and like the Digne situation that was poorly handled and like that new right back like and I know he's like new and stuff like left back Mikalenkov he made 2 mistakes in the Norwich game and like losing to Norwich like that is shambolic. They really need to look like they really need to go back to what they were before. Like I think money's really like fucked them up. They've lost their director of football. I think we said this before, didn't we? That Brands guy. So they literally have no direction. I think Calvert-Lewin potentially is on the leave. Is going to leave. Richarlison will probably leave at some point. And yeah, they need a competent manager, someone who's just going to like. I think Lucien Favre will be good because he's worked with loads of young players, and at the moment they just have loads of young players. He'd get a good system going, and he'd probably just keep them. And it's probably the best they can hope for, which is quite a fucking downfall to be honest. Because like £500 million, what are they? They spent the second most net after somebody I can't remember who it is, but it's up there.
Maybe Arsenal.
Yeah,
Arsenal
it's
spent the most
in the last decade.
Oh, in the decade? No.
Yeah, last.
United.
It's probably United. Probably, yeah, that's pretty dire to be honest. Yeah.
What about you, Denzel? What's your thoughts on Everton debacle?
They're just a mid club, isn't it? But it's a mid club that's not behaving midly. Like, with the whole Martinez thing, I don't think people should be too. I don't know. Like, you never know. It might work. West Ham did a little thing.
Why would he leave Belgium? Why would he leave
exactly,
Belgium?
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna get to that, but West Ham did a little thing where they sacked Moyes, tried to make it different, didn't work out, brought him back, and they're thriving now. So you never know. Martinez back might be a good thing, but why would you leave when you have a World Cup this year with Belgium to go and manage an Everton side? I don't see why he would do that. He could do it. I've heard talks about Wayne Rooney as well. I think it's maybe a bit of a step too high for him at the moment. And then there was talk about Graham Potter. So I feel like Graham Potter is the best option, but it's Everton, so they're not gonna go with the best option. Yeah, there's nothing really more to say about them. Everyone's already said it all. They're average, isn't it?
Bro, if
doesn't that just sorry, Josh, go on.
No, but I was just before we go back on Everton. If Rooney keeps Derby up, that's one of the best things that we've seen in football.
Definitely.
I think they had like a minus 21 points deduction or something.
Yeah.
Well, if he keeps them up, that is a miracle. But you're saying, Sarah, what are you going to say?
Like gone backwards because They weren't even in the Premier League 2-3 years ago at Brighton, and Everton were like a top 7 club. They were comfortably that 7th team, weren't they? And yeah, now they're going for managers in teams who have only been in the Premier League for like 4 years.
Yeah. They're down.
The options are limited.
Yeah, not gonna lie, the downfall, the steepness of the downfall after the Ancelotti era, the steepness of that downfall is if you actually, I don't think people are realizing
it's bad.
It's bad. He wasn't gone that longer, 2021 he left. The steepness of that downfall was actually ridiculous. Like how can in the space of that time, I know they've had injuries and stuff, but it's not an excuse. Come on, we play the Premier League football. Like you can't just say one guy injured, now they're finished. But that's what's happened. Without Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, they are bang average. Like I'm talking, like Burnley level. Like
I will give them a proper game.
That's what I'm saying. Burnley will give them a game.
Hey, they might actually look at Dyche, They might as well just look at Dyche, bro.
Yeah, if okay, Burnley look like they're going to get relegated this year. If Dyche probably will leave, I think it'd be a good choice for him.
The thing is, in these situations, you have to. I think clubs need to realize you have to accept you're terrible. Like you have, how Conte is speaking about Tottenham. Sometimes you have to accept the reality, and Everton are in a bad way right now. You have to accept it. There's no point trying to be edgy and trying to, I don't know, trying to play different kind of ways. You have to accept you're bad, and build from there. They're trying to dodge a bullet. You can't dodge a bullet in the Premier League. You can't. They have to work with what they have right now, and that's the youth players, as the guy said. That's young players that they have with a decent amount of potential, and build from there. I'm not really liking this whole get the oldest guy in the Italian league, and just because he used to play for Napoli, he's going to rip up the Premier League. It's not really going to work, is it?
That's shots at Alan,
They're playing shit football though. I don't get how it can get any worse. Like if the shit football's not working, like I don't know what they've got, to be honest. Like they're playing football like Burnley at the moment.
Worse.
Burnley, bro.
I don't know who they're linked with, to be honest.
No one.
Actually, let's talk about your boy Sarab. What happened? Let's
be honest though. Let's cover the last few weeks, because I've actually not spoken about West Ham for ages. Last few weeks been pretty good. Like since the new year, because we went on a bad spell. We beat Liverpool and Chelsea. We went on lost a load of shit games. Started the year off good. Palace, Lanzini scored some bangers. Lanzini's been very good. Watford, that was a brilliant away day, by the way. That was a good game. But yesterday was a bit of a shambles. I was pissed. Like that was exactly what I didn't want to happen. Like we played into Leeds' hands, an end-to-end game, high energy. Our team is tired to fuck. Yeah. Leeds were, to be fair to them, they pressed well, they closed down, they put us under pressure. They didn't let Lanzini dictate the play like he has been doing. Rice struggled, to be fair, as well. Bowen missed a sitter right at the very end, which is it was like, how did you miss that? Now, fair play to Leeds, and under everything with the injuries and COVID and stuff, they probably deserve the win. Fair play to them.
Bro, you guys need Zuma and Ogbonna back.
Yeah, Zuma's kind of close. We need Zuma.
Diop
needs to. I've had enough of Diop now. I was like, give him a chance, but he needs to go.
I was watching it on Match of the Day, and he gave the ball away a couple of times, and then you see Dawson's a bit erratic. They were quite erratic.
Yeah.
Both just like last-ditch defenders that love doing the blocks and stuff like that. And bro, you don't need that, man. You don't need that more time. Well, you said Zuma's back in training.
Zuma, apparently he's like really close to returning. But the issue is with Zuma, he's not in a left-footed centre-back. So we're still going to have that same issue where we can't build up from that side. So, I don't know. We need backup for Antonio. Antonio looks dead. He looks so tired. But Bowen, kudos to Bowen. Best English player in the league, probably at the moment, statistically. Most goals and most assists, whatever. He's probably got an England call-up coming pending.
Yeah.
I like Bowen.
Yeah. I like the way they're playing him. Yeah, I like the way they're
forward,
playing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're playing him. Inside forward. Yeah, like in the mix with Antonio. You see the game against Leeds, like Antonio was drifting out a lot, and Bowen was just in there. Like you can
Come
just see,
central, innit?
yeah. I was thinking he's scoring a lot of goals for who he's supposed to be, respectfully to Bowen.
Yeah.
But who would you compare him to? If you had to compare a player to Bowen
Oh,
outside,
I said he's a shit seller.
well,
Like an inside forward. Like that's why he's been with Liverpool, because he's like I could see Bowen. Like, unfortunately for us, I think Klopp likes Bowen a lot.
really,
Yeah, he he likes him, and I think he probably sees him potentially as like a backup or something.
Bro, he could probably replace Mane still. Like, Mane,
That's a big call.
Obviously, Mane, he's still a good player and he's still very good, but
his output's been a bit bad.
He's declining, bro. Mane is
Yeah.
declining. Like, he's not the same Mane from 2-3 years ago. But yeah, let's go on to transfers now. And one big transfer, he made his comeback. He made his comeback in the league against this guy's team, shambles of a team. What are you saying about Coutinho? Because I don't even know what's Aston Villa's like expectations for this season. Really, what's going to be their expectation? I'm not sure.
I think the owners really want top 8. They want top 8 a lot. And when they did the Grealish video, they said like, they want European football in the next like 3 years. They want it really soon. Their squad, to be fair, and their players that they've got, to be fair to them, is really good. That's how Everton should build their squad. But to be fair, they've done quite well.
Wait. Before we go on to Coutinho and his impact, what happened to Leon Bailey?
He's been injured.
Oh, he's
Apparently,
injured.
He's been injured.
but apparently even he hasn't been that good.
No, he hasn't, bro. I was just surprised. Like, ever since Gerrard's came, I haven't seen this guy touch a pitch at all. So I was thinking. But yeah, do you think Coutinho is going to be good enough to the point where Aston Villa will buy him outright, or do you think he's been out in the cold for so long? We just don't know. Carl.
I think they'd hope. I think they'd hope so. You know, I think a lot of people have been harsh on Coutinho for his time at Bayern and Barca, but I think they would. Aston Villa won a lot from him. In terms of quality, that will stick with Coutinho. The way he played, that will stick with him at his age. I know he's 29 right now, but I'm expecting big things from Coutinho at Aston Villa. People thinking his drop off is going to be incredibly huge, but I think they've been harsh personally. I don't know whether Aston Villa will be able to afford Coutinho at the end of his spell though. That's the only thing, because at the end of the day, this guy was a big 100 mil plus player. That is the problem. Yeah, and
they spent 30 on Ings, innit?
Exactly. That's so. If Aston Villa have the money, because obviously they got the Grealish money, they definitely hope so. They wouldn't get him for no reason. That's what I think as well. They are a bit away off 8th, but if they can target 8th right now, that's actually huge for them, if I'm being honest.
Sarah?
In terms of keeping him, I think it's going to be quite difficult because his wages are very, very astronomical in comparison to like the rest of Villa's squad. He'd have to take a huge pay cut. But like, I think it's a good opportunity for him to like sort of play under like the less limelight, like get some assists, get some goals, play in a good system. Play under your former teammate as well. I think he'll improve players like Buendia and like Jacob Ramsey's coming along quite well as well. So he'll be in a good system. I think Villa as a whole, I think that 8th place is quite open. I know like Wolves are there at the moment. I think it's quite open. Brighton are probably like one of the strong contenders. But there's no reason why they can't make it. Yeah, I think Coutinho's a shrewd little 6-month signing, to be fair.
Denzel, what about you? You think Coutinho's going to be a big have a big impact, or?
Honestly, I don't know, because we saw what he did at Liverpool, and then the Barca spell just cast a bit of doubt. Maybe there's less pressure on him now to perform, so maybe he will. But I just think we have to wait and see with him. I don't know.
That's fair enough. Is there any other big transfers we want to touch upon, or rumors that Because Carl Will mentioned him before about Hazard. Would you take him back at Chelsea?
The thing is, the nostalgia me obviously would always want Hazard, but let's be honest, his decline was one of the biggest transfer failures probably the biggest transfer failure I've ever seen. So
Up there
we
with
have to be
Coutinho.
realistic. We have to be realistic. The thing is, the league's over. Within me, I'm saying the league's over. Getting Hazard, like, what's the big deal? Just give him a chance back at the bridge, you know, whatever they say. But the thing is, you can't take him back. Let's be honest, you can't take him back. His career, he went to Real Madrid. He made the big decision. I know whatever he says, he's always going to say, "Oh yeah, one day I want to go back to Chelsea." But I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. Like, what's going to happen to Hudson-Odoi, Pulisic, Werner, Ziyech, all these players that play on the wing?
Don't say Werner. Don't say Ziyech. Come on.
You know, but it's realness. Like they're still part of the squad. Like, what are they gonna do? Hold bench every single game in the whole season?
Yeah,
Because
they're
Hazard's
taking
not holding
no
bench. That's what you say.
Take no bench.
That's the thing is Hazard's
They're
not
big
holding
men,
bench.
bro.
Right?
They're big men.
You guys are spoiled for choice.
That's not. It's true. It's
I
true.
wish West Ham had that luxury.
Obviously, I'm not saying we should take Hazard back. I think Hazard is. I think he's past his peak. I still think he can be a very good player and a useful player for a team. He just needs the love and, you know, almost the backing of the team. But I don't think he should come back to the Premier League. I think he's written his story in the Prem. Should look to like Serie A, in my opinion. Maybe like a cheeky Juventus, somewhere like that. Because Italy they do save lives, man. They do save lives. They do save lives, and they respect the elders as well. So I think he should go to Italy, in my opinion. Or maybe try and see if he can get back to Lille, but the Real Madrid thing flopped badly.
Hazard in Italy. A good idea. He's gonna be hitting up all the pizzerias, man. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. Maybe a bit techie.
Because Chiesa's out for the whole season. There might be a little space for him on the wing. So
Yeah.
I think Juve is a good move for him, in my opinion. What about West Ham? Is there any transfer rumours for West Ham?
mate, we'll probably leave it to like the last day or something, because that's what we normally do. We're linked with Diallo from PSG on loan as a centre back. I don't think we'll get him because his wages will be too much. Jonathan David's the big one. Again, I think Arsenal will probably get him in the summer, and like for him to leave Lille when Lille were doing quite well as well in Liga, that's not going to happen. I honestly couldn't tell you. The rumours are dried up. There's literally nobody. And everyone we want, I feel like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like there's not really many like clear-cut strikers out on the market, to be honest. There's like big ones, but there's not anyone really available, to be honest.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk of Vlahovic.
But we can't get Vlahovic. Like, there's not really any middling strikers which we could get, like Luka Jovic on loan or something like that. Like that's like the best we could probably do.
Yeah.
So we'd have to probably wait till the summer to get a proper striker in. But we need someone, like something. Martial on loan. God, that'd be awful. Probably end up doing something like that.
Nah, he said he doesn't want to go to English team on loan. So it's not happening.
What do you make of the whole Ragnick Martial thing?
I don't care anymore, man. For my honest opinion, I do not give a shit. I don't even swear that much, but I do not give a shit about United anymore. I don't even want to get started on it, man.
Bro, like United really, like everything changed after that summer. You know? The whole dynamics of the club just changed after one person in particular came in, and everything like just changed. Like,
nah, we're not running Ronaldo agendas. That's dead. That's
bro,
so...
I was talking about Varane still.
Yeah, sure. We're not running Ronaldo agendas.
I'm joking.
Every episode.
Yeah. We don't even need to waste our breath on United. We know that United are crap. So let's just move on, whatever.
It is what it is, man. It is what it is. But yeah, I think that's it, man. I think that's it. There's not a lot.
I got some quick shouts.
Go on then.
AFCON watch. Shout out to the big boy Sierra Leone doing me proud. Ghana, you're not doing me proud, but Sierra Leone, you're doing me proud. I'm happy. Shout out to all the Kamaras, man, doing their thing, man. It's wonderful to see. But yeah, quick shout out to Sierra Leone for AFCON. Hopefully we get to the knockouts.
No, I think we need to talk about AFCON more. Probably when it gets into the knockouts, but
Yeah,
Algeria doing shit.
yeah,
terrible.
but I haven't really been
Yeah.
watching to watch it. It's just been so much things going on there, so it's hard to keep up. But hopefully by the knockouts, I'll have a bit more time to watch it. But yeah, any other final thoughts before we round up, close? I think that's it, guys. You might know what the usuals. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share it to your people. We want to grow the channel. The subscriber count has been staying stale for a minute now. It's not looking nice, man. We need to rise them subscriber counts up. But yeah, people, we'll be back again next week. Stay blessed and look after yourself. Peace.